Today, I am going to talk about why failure is not such a bad thing. Hi, my name is Shelomo Solson, teenage motivational speaker, author of the teen mental health book Never Fight Alone, and host of the podcast Teenage Impact, where I've interviewed over 80 people around the world on their struggles in life, how they were able to overcome them, and how you can too. My entire mission is to inspire you to overcome the challenges that you're facing and turn them into opportunities of greatness. Before I continue with this episode, I want to mention my book called Never Fight Alone. If you haven't checked it out yet, go ahead and check it out. I've had so many people give me so many positive reviews. It's a mental health book that's a compilation of 51 inspiring interviews. If you are a teenager, if you're a parent of a teenager, if you are a youth leader, if you are a principal, guidance counselor, teacher, I highly recommend you checking out this book. The link is in the description. Last week, I had a Facebook memory that popped up from 12 years ago. I was a senior in high school and I posted up a Facebook status saying, I'm really sad I didn't get accepted to the University of Florida. I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. I really, really, really wanted to branch outside of my hometown and go to a university that is not in Tampa. I'm the youngest of four, so all three of my older siblings went to the University of South Florida. They stayed home, lived with my parents. So I wanted to do something different. Of course, at 14 years old, I wanted to go to Harvard because I thought I was smart. I always got straight A's. And later on, I had different goals. So I said, you know what? I'm going to apply to two colleges. Number one is going to be the University of Florida. Number two is going to be the University of South Florida. And University of South Florida is in Tampa. University of Florida is about 2 hours away in Gainesville. I was so sure I would get in. I had a 5.2 GPA, had extracurricular activities, had a part-time job, had volunteering hours. I had leadership positions. I had so many qualifications, except one thing, my reading SAT score was kind of low. So I had a feeling that that was a huge part of the reason why I didn't get in, along with my writing skills. My essay wasn't the best. But just to get to the point, I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. So I had to quote unquote settle to go to the University of South Florida. I thought, you know what? This experience is going to suck. I'm going to stay in Tampa. My life is over. And all these thoughts are running through my head. You know what happens when you go through a failure or when you get rejected from something you really want to do. But it was the best rejection I ever had to face. I had experiences at USF that if I go back, I wouldn't change it at all. I met lifelong friends, people I keep in touch with 12 years later, and people who I'm probably going to keep in touch with for the rest of my life. I've learned from failures, I've had different hardships that led me to becoming a speaker. And I don't think if I ever went through those hardships, I would have been a speaker. I went ahead and worked for my sister's small business where I learned so many valuable lessons that I use for my business today. So you see, failure and rejection is not such a bad thing. And today's episode, I'm going to go over 3 reasons why failure is not a bad thing. So here we go. Number one, you learn. Some of us have probably heard of the famous steakhouse, Ruth Chris's Steakhouse. Is popular in the United States. I'm not sure if there are any internationally, but it's a well-known steakhouse in the United States. And so I think there's around 100 locations. It's quite expensive. A lot of people go there for networking, for celebrations, but it wasn't always this successful. In the 1970s, a lady named Ruth bought a local steakhouse called Chris's Steakhouse. She encountered a lot of losses. It had a lot of power outages, and eventually it burned down from a fire. She rebuilt it and she founded Ruth Chris's Steakhouse. Someone approached her and asked her if they can open a franchise in a busy highway. So he opened that franchise, and that's when it started to take off. You see, she encountered a lot of losses and she encountered a lot of failures when opening, but she learned things along the way. And the same thing is going to apply to you. With each failure that you encounter, you learn something new each and every time. And all it takes is for one thing to make it, for one success to pop off, and then your career or something that you have been dreaming for is going to suddenly take off. You can have 9 failures in a row, but when you learn from each and every one of those failures and what you can do differently, the 10th time you attempt that one goal, you can succeed. Number two, it's going to lead you to more exciting adventures. The founder of Apple, Steve Jobs, was once fired from his very own company. He was devastated. He was depressed. He was angry. But eventually, he went on to purchase Pixar, became CEO, helped make it big, and then Apple rehired him to become CEO. He turned the company around and innovated so many different products. If he was never fired from Apple, I don't think he would be the Steve Jobs the second time around. Or I don't think Pixar would be Pixar because of Steve Jobs. You see, the failures that you encounter, it may seem like the end of the world, but it's actually going to set you up for something greater. So, yes, you might have gotten rejected from your dream college. You might have not gotten that job. Your side hustle might have been a failure. That boy or girl that you asked out might have said no. But look, maybe it's going to lead you to dating someone who brings you happiness. Maybe it's going to lead you to a side hustle that becomes your dream. Maybe you go to a college where you start forming lifelong friendships and have experiences that leads you to learn different lessons that makes you the person today. So don't take different failures for granted, but because it's actually going to set you up for something greater. Steve Jobs said you cannot connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backward. Last but not least, number three, it builds resiliency. We all know Tom Brady, former quarterback for the New England Patriots, and the new quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He won 7 Super Bowl championship rings. But guess what? When he was drafted to the NFL, he was the 199th draft pick. When he went to the New England Patriots to become the quarterback, he was a fourth string quarterback. He worked hard the next year. He studied the other great quarterbacks to see how he can improve. And then that next year, he became the second string quarterback. He became the most improved player for the New England Patriots. And then when the starting quarterback got injured for the New England Patriots, he became the starting quarterback. And that very same year, he won a Super Bowl ring. And the same thing happened with me too. It took me 6 years to land my very first paid speaking engagements. That means I spoke for free for 6 years before I landed my very first paid speaking engagements. When you work so hard for a certain amount of time through your failures, through your rejections, you're actually building resiliency. So when your time comes to shine, you are ready. But suppose if Tom Brady would have been given the starting quarterback position at the very beginning, do you think he would work as hard as he does now? Do you think he would be most valuable player? Do you think he would have 7 Super Bowl rings? Same thing with me. If I got paid from the very beginning, I don't know if I would be in the position I am now because it would have been easy for me. But when we go through so much failure, we work so hard. We are building character. We are building discipline. And when our time comes to shine, we're going to be ready. So the next time you fail, I'm not saying don't get angry, don't get frustrated, because it's normal to feel that way. What we should be doing after each and every failure is embrace failure, make an action plan to become better, work hard on that action plan, and have faith that eventually the stars will align. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Teenage Impact. If you haven't done so already, check out my new book, Never Fight Alone. In the description, follow me on social media. I'm most active on Instagram and TikTok. If you do have questions or comments about any of my podcast episodes, feel free to message me on Instagram. My handle name is at Shelomo Solson. And until next time, peace.